talk about the movie of my people, the Leprechauns. I think I identify more as a hobbit really than anything. If
I
you were
mean,
to put me in the small person category.
the problem is that with the hobbits, like their faces look normal.
So what are you what are you saying?
Probably doing fashion a favor, killing that one.
Hey everyone, and
Hey
welcome to
everybody.
Why You Still Here, the show that we talk about whatever we want. And today, Lucas, don't you dare tell us why we're here, okay?
Yes.
Because I'm gonna say it this time. And the reason, are we out of our minds? Yep, because we're ranking the laps.
Yes. Today, as our gimmick for St. Patrick's Day, why the hell not give ourselves the only chance that we're really gonna have to talk about the Leprechaun movies. Um,
Yes.
Brandon recommended the idea, and I said, you know what? I've never actually sat down and watched this eight of these movies, by the way. When I found out there was eight, like my heart just about dropped. So there's two ways to watch all eight movies. You can get this 1 through 7 Blu-ray pack and then get the other one separate. Or Walmart had a steelbook from last year, I believe, is when it came out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
The Leprechaun collection, which it even says right on the spine, 1 through 8.
Glorious.
Yep.
Very
So I
nice.
hastily went on eBay a few weeks ago. That arrived very quickly, and then thus began the journey of all eight Leprechaun movies. I have zero nostalgia. It's like a went in blind, and I got a lot to say about these movies that are so bad that they're good.
I
This is
grew
gonna be
up with these
interesting.
movies and I have no nostalgia for any of them.
That's saying quite a
So,
bit.
yeah. Yeah. So, starting off, obviously, we're ranking these movies, obviously. That's a given. The
Obviously, we're going
stupid,
stupid question. It is worst to best.
yeah, of course,
Okay,
the stupid rhyme behind my head, there's a reason for that.
we'll
I
talk
don't think
about
that's
it.
a good rhyme. I purposely made it terrible because everything the Leprechaun says in these movies is a really convoluted rhyme that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And like I said to Lucas, it reminds me when I was in high school and I had creative writing and we had to write like 20 poems. And most of them, like naturally, you want to rhyme, even though poems don't have to rhyme.
Yeah,
And I would get in trouble all the time, not in trouble, but I'd get marked down for forced rhymes, which is just, like you're
yeah,
rhyming
yeah.
words that don't
So
necessarily make sense with each other kind of thing. Like
I
you'd
would
never
say
use that word if it didn't rhyme.
yes.
So, yes.
And in a very similar vein, same concept, really. It's like when you're a little kid and like you go to write a song and like you just kind of rhyme things as you go along and it's just to make it rhyme.
That rhymed.
Oh, unintentionally as well. You
Mm.
know what? All right, guys. All right, the leprechaun's out of the bag, if you will, so to speak. I'm so excited to talk about these movies because they're of my people, and I'm so excited to share this with you. Yes, I'm the
Yes,
leprechaun.
this is true. And so yeah, this is the treat that we're giving our viewers for St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope you enjoy
Happy
this.
St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
And ironically, I came up with this idea. It's not wholly original, but I came up with this idea because I was recommended a Leprechaun shirt from what's the company? I can't think of what it's called at the moment, but it's one of those many companies. It wasn't Fright Rags, it wasn't Terror Threads, it was Gutter Garbs, I think. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I purchased it, right?
Hmm.
And as you see, I'm not wearing it. And we were supposed to record this 5 days ago. Okay. and the shirt was not going to be to me on time. So this was last Monday, right? Now 6 days ago. Um, seven. We're almost to 7 days ago. Math, it's
Yes.
hard. And I got in contact with them because I had purchased this shirt, and I was like, "Hey, it's not going to get to me on time. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cancel my order because let's face it, why would I want a Leprechaun shirt? Like it would be for this episode." And they were like a little pissy about it, but they ended up canceling it. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, it was like the curse of the gold hit me because I wasn't able to talk.
Scream as you may, scream as you might. If you try to escape, you'll be dead on this night.
From like an hour after that, like my voice got, my throat got sore.
Mm,
I started
I
to
didn't know this was the
gradually
work
lose
of.
my voice.
Well, okay,
And
it was me. Sorry.
by Monday night, I could not speak at all. Like it was just gone. And it was impossible for us to do the episode. Now, the ironic thing is, had I just waited for the shirt to arrive, it would have very much have been here by now. It was going to arrive on Friday, I think. So basically, the lesson in all this is just be patient.
Yes.
Yeah. But in that moment, I mean, we were for sure doing it on Tuesday. So I don't know, but I don't have it, sadly. And I did break my ass to try to find like a local Leprechaun shirt, and that doesn't exist, unfortunately,
Hmm.
like anywhere.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
So,
I think it'd be hard to come by.
yeah, like Spencer's has a Leprechaun shirt, I guess, and they have one in store, but it's only in size small. So,
Oh, what are you gonna do with that? No.
I don't know, wear it as a bandana or something. Um, Before we get started into this, there's two things that I have to say. When we make fun of any of these movies, it's not a statement on Warwick Davis himself. Warwick Davis is the one constant in these movies, six of them, and he's fantastic. I
In
mean,
every single one of them.
he always shows up, he always delivers. He's what makes the really bad ones at least redeemable a little bit. So nothing against Warwick Davis at all. And the second thing is that I don't know if it became obvious to you, but there's like a fan theory, and it's not a fan theory. It's something I knew since I was a little kid. Okay. It's very obvious that it's what they're going for. Every single movie, except for two of them, it's a different leprechaun every single time. So I don't know if that became obvious to you at all while watching this
So, other than the
series.
clothing changes in every movie, because I noticed the costume was slightly different each time. Um, yeah, I honestly didn't really notice. Other than like
Interesting.
the second one where it's like kind of weird because it's like back in time and he had like I think
Mm-hmm.
there was an actual name associated with him too, if I'm not mistaken.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so the second one kind of threw me for a loop because it didn't feel the same as the other ones in a way, but I
Mm-hmm.
not something I really thought of actually. So
So as far as the clothing goes, without getting maybe like super detailed on it, I'm not sure. It seemed like second movie until the fifth movie, it's the exact same clothes every time. They the first movie's a little bit different. He has red pants instead of brown pants. And then in the sixth movie, they give him a whole completely different attire and
yes,
a different
that I
backstory
remember.
and all this kind of stuff. But he has a different backstory right from the second movie. Like the first movie, it's one thing. He's a cobbler, a shoemaker, and you know, is obsessed with his gold and blah blah blah. But he mentions that he's 500 years old. And then in the second movie, he's 2,000 years old. So that right there is a clue for you to begin with. When the movie starts off, it's like medieval times, and he happens to mention that he's 1,000 years old at that
I'm 1,000 years old.
point. So
Yeah, so as far as the continuity is concerned, I just figured since they knew they were making shitty movies, they just figured each one they'd give them a different story but have the same character each one, which I guess is
mm.
kind of the same thing, but only different. But
In the comic books, he has a name. I can't think of what the name is at the moment. I know it starts with an L.
did you just say the comic books?
Mm-hmm.
Is this based on or comics were inspired by?
No, it's the same thing. Like there's Halloween comic books and
Okay.
Nightmare on Elm Street comic books. Um, but yeah, so whatever. He has a name in that. I don't think they ever mention it. In fact, I know they don't mention it in the movies at all. Um, but you just can kind of push that aside, and it's a different leprechaun every single time. And then you see a whole bunch of them in the opening of the Leprechaun Back to the Hood, like that has that little animated opening, and you see a whole bunch of them, and they all look the same. And they pulled him down into like hell, and then like released him from hell as well. And they all look the
Mhm.
same as each other. Like they all dress the same, they all look the same, so on and so forth. So
Interesting.
that is did you not see the opening of that movie?
Well, I mean, I never thought of him as a different leprechaun. It's just so weird. He all looks and sounds the same. I
No, I mean that's whatever, but at the beginning of Back to the Hood, where they show you like there's a whole colony of leprechauns that live underground.
sure. Yes. I watched them all within that week pretty much, and some of them are a little muddied in my intros. My apologies there, dear lady.
Mm-mm-mm. Um, so yeah, Lubden, by the way, is the name that supposedly he has in the comic books, um, but yeah, that doesn't pertain to the movies whatsoever. So yes, different leprechaun every single time. They probably did that to just I honestly don't know why they did that, but the original one and then Returns, it's the same one. So, that's
Oh,
the
that's
one and only
awesome.
time in
I
the
love it
series it's
how
the same
just
one.
it's the same one, but he is noticeably looks and sounds different. So that's cool.
Yeah, but still, what are you gonna do? Can't help it when Warwick Davis doesn't want to come back, unfortunately. Um, for that one, he may have wanted to. For Origins, he didn't want to because he's like, oh, my kids, when you have kids, life gets a little bit different and you don't want to do horror movies anymore and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to wait until my son's 18. And now his son is like 21 or 23 or something. So, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I don't think he's expressed any interest in returning.
I don't know. Probably not. So let's do this. Again, there's 8 of them. And let's start off with number 8. I would be shocked if we didn't have the same one, but
Obviously, it's
Lucas,
going to be
take
the
it
same
away.
movie, but just as my little thing, Brandon is definitely taken away. He really loves Leprechaun, as you can see, is one of his favorites. That's why he's giving you all this background information. But now, this for me, hey, there we go. I saw it. Awesome. So this for me is the hardest ranking I think I've ever had to do for this one because none of these are like particularly cinematic, masterpieces. None of them are like really good movies. And it's just like sifting through like trash at times with this series. I would say my first three, the worst three really are the worst three. Um, and I'm not 100% married to the list. I feel like in a few years, if I ever revisit this whole series, like how you said a few years have changed, but it's mostly the same. I feel like that could be applicable to this list, but as it stands, I'm pretty solid with this one. So that was my whole thing. Anyway, whatever. So number 8 obviously is Leprechaun Origins.
Of course, yes, for me as well.
Are you are you pulling up something for the episode or
No, I'm just gonna look at something else. No, I think I did want to give credit where credit's due to the guy that created the makeup for the character, and I believe Gabe Bartalos is the gentleman in question. So
yes?
I think he deserved a shout out. Yeah, my number 8 is Leprechaun Origins as well. It's awful.
It's
Next,
the
number 7.
descent
No,
and
I'm kidding.
it's the descent in a cabin with one monster, and it looks
It's
like
so
the
bad.
creatures from the descent. Uh, it's absolutely ridiculous. They have like a similar kill from the descent where they hit the where they hit the woman in the head and then kill her. It's like right out of the same fucking playbook. Yes, the movie sucks. It is
Sucks
not good.
bad.
And
Yeah.
like it's just it baffles my fucking mind that you take the one constant thing out of the other seven arguably all bad movies, the
Hmm.
one constant good, charming, great element, and don't even have a representation of it as we'll get into other movies. What the fuck were you thinking? Absolutely, absolutely awful. It's
And they go and it was WWE Studios working with Lionsgate. And so they hired one of their wrestlers named
yep.
Hornswoggle. And his real name is Dylan Postel, I believe. And why? Everybody says is why he was wasted. I don't even know what his talents are, but he was wasted because you could have just puppeteered that thing.
Because
Like,
every
why have
single
a
shot of that
person
thing
in
was
it?
basically it was set up to be like you have them being attacked and then you're gonna edit in the creature later. They hardly ever show the face. It's just like shaky cam and then go to the killing and
Yeah,
then go back. And yes, the way it moved was almost gangly like a puppet at times. It it was
awful.
awful.
I remember my first time watching it, and I was so in denial that I kept waiting and waiting and waiting for it to finally start talking and like giving us like, you know,
Sure.
a lip in the hood is up to no good, like this kind of stuff. Like this is what I was hoping for. Um, and that never happened, unfortunately. And so there's like, why did you even cast somebody in this? And it's just like so stupid. And I am not up on my Irish folklore, but I did watch a video where a guy from Ireland was tearing the movie apart because they say what it is. Like they're reading a book, right? And they say the name of the creature and they go, "What's that?" And she goes, "Leprechaun," or what does that mean? Leprechaun. No, the name of the mythological being that they say it is a completely different being
Mm,
to a leprechaun. Like there's a bunch of different stuff they have in Ireland that's like, like the mythology, and it's just one of those things. It's like saying a mermaid and a dragon is the same thing. Like it's just like they're
yes.
no, what are you doing? So you know that that's good right off the bat. And it was filmed in Canada and they tried to make that look like Ireland. So that's always good too. And then the cherry on the sundae or the topping on the cake,
Shit
whatever you
Sunday.
want to say,
Could there be a cherry on top this shit Sunday?
um, you take a character that's known for talking and you turn him into a generic creature that doesn't say one single word, Like the
It's
only
it's
thing
it's
it
the
has
most
in
insane
common,
departure. What, the lust for gold?
yeah, that's it.
It's almost like maybe there is some mythological creature that is in Ireland, and they're like, you know what? Maybe we'll just slap Leprechaun Origins on there and just try to bank people into seeing this piece of shit movie. Like that's the only thing I can think of. They already had something in production, and they just slapped a different name on it. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
That's the
It's
way it
very
comes
similar
across.
to like the Wendigo. Um,
Okay,
but that's not like an Irish folklore at all. I think it's like Native American folklore, but Wendigos are created when cannibalism takes place. Um, So they're like a creature that's very much like that. They're the enemies in Until Dawn.
Until Dawn, yeah.
Yes. But yeah, they're like, one of those things.
Hmm.
But or as Cody Leach called it, Wendigo. You can't make up the stupidity.
I love this.
Unfortunately. But yeah, that movie sucks real bad, and I
So
will never watch it again.
am I gonna try to give the movie one positive? That was, again, forgive me, I don't think I'm mistaking this one for any other movie. That was the one where she had the gold tongue ring that got ripped out of her mouth, off her tongue.
Yes.
That was that one. Okay.
Yes.
I thought that was disgusting. I mean, and I thought it was kind of strange that every piece of like Pierce jewelry they had was gold for some reason. Go
I
figure.
know it. Yeah. What are they,
But
rich?
yeah, I thought that was absolutely disgusting. So cool. Other than that, I've really nothing good to say about that movie. Nothing else to say about it. No, yeah. I no, junk. Absolutely junk. So unless you have anything else to say about it,
No, thank you.
great.
Number 7.
So number 7, and just for the sole fact that Leprechaun wasn't in Origins, this was definitely a prime contender for the worst one, and I'm sure we're going to share the same one. It's no surprise. Leprechaun 4 in Space. I was
Mm.
I hated it personally.
Yeah.
I did not like it. Um the thing that stuck out to me the most when I saw that like wide shot of like the spaceship of that horrendous CG, I said to myself, "Oh my God, like what a step back. This has all of the production quality of a porn, and that is being too generous." Because I I was just
None of the charm.
perturbed. No, it was so horrible. And then when they had him all blown up at the end, it was like this super pixelated image that
I
wasn't
know, it was a
set to
mess.
scale. All of this was a fucking mess. I mean,
Yeah.
the practical effects of the spider, I'll give it that, were fine
Hmm.
for what it's worth. That's good. But the whole mitten hand thing was so out of left field. This whole movie's out of left field. And I
Yeah.
really didn't enjoy much of my time with it. Leprechaun come out of someone's dick hole because he pissed on his
Yes.
leg. Okay. All right.
He pissed on
Like
his body, but yeah.
the whole
Right.
thing, whatever. But like, what in the holy mother of God? I did not like this one. Mm-mm.
Mm.
And it's a stark hatred. At least it's creative because the one I have underneath it I also don't like for different reasons. But uh
You're hitting the nail on the head for what I'm about to say.
okay.
My number 7 is Leprechaun Back to the Hood.
Okay.
It's not in space, and they were head to head. They were, contenders against each other, so to speak. But the thing is that Leprechaun Back to the Hood is one of the most boring movies ever.
It is.
And you could say a lot of things about Leprechaun in space. Boring is not one of them. So that was a flaw in my opinion that just kind of just pushed it ahead
Indeed.
a little bit more of the shit show that is Back to the Hood, because that movie is like,
It's funny you say that because that one do you have any more to say about it?
I hate it.
Okay. Sure. So my number 6 is the movie Brandon hates, Back to the Hood. Um
Hmm.
so as you have those two as a contender, I have other ones that are a contender that were really back and forth. And again, they could change when I rewatch the series in 15 years for some insane reason. An absolutely insane reason. Haven't said that in a while. But yeah, Back to the Hood. My yes, boring fucking movie, stupid
Hmm.
plot. My biggest issue with the movie is that it sucks all the charm, as I said to you earlier, out of Back to the Hood, out of the original Leprechaun in the Hood. Which is a fun, absolutely ridiculous movie. We'll talk about it. Um, it doesn't have any of that soul. Any like even those three main characters, like
Hmm.
I I was shocked by the end of the movie that I kind of gave a shit about them. You know what I mean? So none of
Hmm.
that exists in Back to the Hood. It was just
No.
it was just a cash in of the name. And then again, that's the one that has all those horrible page turn transitions
Yeah.
in it, and I mean, like, it's
There's one
every
that's a
other.
clock too.
It's so bad. Like, it's straight up like Windows 2000 Movie Maker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have anything else really to say about it, but yes, boring as fuck, terrible, cash grab. And how are these even a cash grab? You know what I mean? What are you gonna make
Yeah,
out
it's
of this
definitely not a
movie?
cash grab, but I don't know what it is. But I do have a couple notes. The
Okay.
one thing is that the movie tricks you at the beginning because it looks higher quality than in the hood. And you're like, oh, this is like more of a legit movie. Yeah, it's not. It's a bait and switch. Terrible transitions. I have that down here. Why is it so serious?
I was gonna say, and if you really think about it, you have that whole you have that whole subplot with what the drug dealing dude, and then they're trying to make money by
Yeah.
working at the salon, and the guy wants to work at the salon, and she's trying to make an honest living, but she's gang banging, going off to college. They're all 38. Okay, they look way older than us.
Yeah, they are.
And then I have to say this, like, make all the jokes you want about me, Brandon, but when I saw the drug dealing guy that had like the massive pearl and the one next to it, I'm like, Brandon makes funny. That is the fucking ladiest shit I've ever seen, and it just stuck out to me. But yes, it
Oh
was
God.
so, what a weird tonal shift, and then the whole thing with
It's
the preacher too, and it's like they bring up the daycare, and it's like, what is this, a pet cemetery of the leprechaun? It
it's
doesn't make any fucking
terrible.
sense.
It's terrible. And there was one fun moment that I'll give it. And it was a bit of a surprise because there was like the girl who steals the gold and makes a stupid gold tooth out of
Yeah.
it. And she's like,
I look so good, and it's like, no, you fucking
and
don't.
it's like, yeah, no. And then when Leprechaun retrieves it, you see him grab towards her mouth and you hear like and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. This movie sucks so bad they can't even get the sound effects right because that thing just pops out. And then all of a sudden you see him walking away and he drops her jaw on the ground. And I'm like, okay, that's good. I
Yeah,
like
and it's
that.
funny because I'm pretty sure it's Leprechaun 2. Is that the one where he takes the gold tooth and then like it looks like you can see the tooth
Yeah,
painted
from the
still?
hobo.
And that's a
Yeah.
theatrical release movie. And then here's this fucking piece of shit. It drops the jaw on the ground as it walks away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
like
funny.
it. And then my final one for this, and this is a theory I've had for a little while. I've never looked into it, and I don't. It's like my head canon. So
Sure.
you know how randomly there's a couple of scenes in this movie where they start calling each other ninjas, and
Yes.
then there's the scene where Leprechaun gets up and goes, "What up, ninjas?"
What's up, ninjas?
You know, he does that. Okay. I have a theory that in the script, it was gonna have Leprechaun say "what up"
Uh-huh.
N-words. Okay.
Okay, so as far as I remember, the white guy that was buying like the bag of oregano off of him,
Mm-hmm.
he did say, "What up, my," right? And
Mm-hmm.
the first
He did, and then
yeah,
they
and they're
all
like, "Oh, it's
freaked
ninja
out and they were
now."
gonna kick
Yeah,
his
okay.
ass. And
Yes.
then because the guy jokingly said it's a ninja now because he was just giving the other guy a hard time by because he's like, It's my, we're ninjas, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, that's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. Like,
Yeah.
that's what he said. But then he says it to the white guy, like, yeah, it's ninja now. And I think he's just screwing with them. But then they go like an hour of the movie not mentioning it again. And then they mention it again right before Leprechaun dies and then comes back to life and says, "What up, ninjas?" So anyway,
Yes.
I'm fairly certain that the original version of the script, it says, "What up?" You know,
Hmm.
I can't say it. I'm gonna get canceled. Uh, as insignificant as I am, I'm still gonna get canceled.
Yes.
And I'm willing to bet Warwick Davis went, "No, there's no way." And they were like, "Come on, it'll be funny. Like it's funny if Leprechaun says it." And he was probably like, "There's no way an ass I'm saying that." And so then they had to write that little plot about ninjas into
Okay.
the movie.
That's why
That's
it
why it
feels so
feels so
shoehorned and
haphazard
stupid.
and
Yeah.
shoehorned. That's my theory. And I I
You
feel
could
like
be
it's the
correct. Yeah.
truth because there's no way Warwick Davis was going to say that, but I could see them thinking it was funny if he did
Yes,
say it. But yeah. So
indeed.
I don't know. Maybe that's a true story. If somebody's watching this and they know that to be the case, then let me know. But otherwise, on to the next number 6, I think. Yeah.
Well, I just did number 6, which was Back to the Hood for me, so I would be on number 5.
Oh, it's funny that I'm still talking about Back to the Hood. My number 6 is Leprechaun in Space.
Okay,
And, I have one note down about this movie,
sure.
and that was the ridiculous pixelation when he becomes like gigantic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, one thing always does stick with me about this movie though, and that is the crawling out of the penis, because I remember being like 11 years old watching this movie,
Uh,
and I'm like, ooh, like Heidi from Home Improvements in it. I'm like, I like this. And there's like the sex scene and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, young Brandon was getting excited. And all of a sudden, it's all broken up by Leprechaun crawling out of his dick hole. And
yep.
I remember that like scarring me a little bit because I never like had a boner killed so fast and so hard in my life. You know what I mean? So I still think about
Great
that to
personal
this
story.
day.
Yeah. Great
Yeah, you're
anecdote
welcome.
related to Leprechaun. Yeah.
And so still to this day, that's always what I think about when I hear this movie.
That's
So
great.
yeah,
So I guess if I could give it like the one like genuine kind of chuckle that I got out of it. So like, it's like at the beginning of the movie that right, I think it's at the beginning where they have it set up to be like
like aliens.
it was like the princess bitch was all tied up and she kind of had like a Leia outfit going on and it
Yeah,
looked kind of like a rancor pit, like it came out of the darkness, and then the leprechaun, because you expect this big beast and you get the tiny little leprechaun. And I couldn't help but to think it was a Star Wars reference because there are obviously a few chalked in here and there, a lot of
probably.
Starship Trooper comparisons.
He
But I
definitely had a
mean,
green lightsaber.
yeah, so like that was funny. I mean the movie was a fucking mess. The movie was a fucking mess. And like I said, I think being too generous with the porn statement, like what the fuck? What, I just would love to see the round table like pitch for that movie and then like the green light for it. I understand it's still direct to DVD or direct to VHS at the time, whatever this was. Um,
It was
whichever year it was for that
97,
one.
so
Okay. Just I whatever. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So what am I on number 5 after I bring
well,
it up?
before we do move on, I do have to mention as well that the multiple times in the movie they refer to him as an alien and Leprechaun. This is the one movie in the series Leprechaun. The word leprechaun's never mentioned once. So it just goes to show you as well, just it being a different being
I
every
did
single
not notice
time.
that. That's
Yeah.
very, very interesting.
Yeah.
The more you know about Leprechaun.
So he happens to be like an alien in this movie that just happens to resemble a leprechaun, I guess. And
Wow.
obviously his standard clothing at the beginning is like a tuxedo for whatever reason. And he smokes a cigarette on like whatever those
The
things, a
long
cigarette
filter
holder.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like a
cigarette
Corella
holder, like,
Deville.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
Indeed.
weird. But yes, number 5.
So these were the two that I debated on the most actually in this.
Mm.
These are my two contenders. Um, but I had to go with my gut on this one. Or you could say I swallowed a gold coin. And I picked Leprechaun 2 as my number 5. But Leprechaun 2, I found the character, I'm pretty sure I remember their names. It's Cody and Bridget, right? And that one, Cody's the guy, with with the Morty crazy ass like boss character. So
It's his
Bridget, I
uncle.
found Uncle. That's what I thought it was, but I kept calling him like Morty, and Morty is his fucking name. But I
Mm-hmm.
kept thinking of like Rick and Morty because this is like this eccentric, crazy alcoholic. So it's kind of funny that it is Morty. Anyway, whatever. That's really neither here nor there. Um, but the character of
Justin Roiland's gonna sue us.
whatever. Fuck him. Isn't he? Didn't he get Me too? Yeah. So fuck
He
him.
sure
Whatever.
did.
Yeah. So anyway, Leprechaun 2. I fucking could not.
Nice.
I could not stand the characters of Cody and Bridget. Bridget is a stupid fucking whore. This guy is chasing this dumb bitch who's just leaving him right there at the Grand Prix Derby. Just, oh, you had to drive around for your stupid uncle. Well, I can't be with you. And then she's like gonna
Yeah,
go
that was a
hug him
little
right in
weird.
front, and he's continually cucking for this girl that is like of the O'Day line that the leprechaun was supposed to marry 1,000 years ago. And this whole movie is him
Yeah.
going through these crazy antics with his uncle to save this girl who gives no fucks about him
Yeah.
from the leprechaun. And leprechaun is just trying to, get his dick wet or get his golden flute wet, as they say. And I just found it to be one of the most annoying plots of all of them. My the relief of the movie for me was Morty for sure. I thought he was pretty funny. The just the whole idea of like I'm smart enough to come up with this drunken plot to drink the leprechaun under the table, which is great. Every part of that's awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
the part when he goes to use God, it's so funny. He goes to use his powers and he can't, and the ashtray is still all
I
wobbly.
love
And
it.
Morty's like absolutely fine and he thinks it's fucking great.
Yeah.
I love like that's great. I really like the part when him and Cody trap him in the safe like through like the dog door of
Yeah.
the thing. That's pretty damn funny. But then they go and kill it by locking him in like that storage closet and the pot of gold comes out of his stomach, which also is another great thing. Everything I like about this movie has to do with Morty, basically. Everything else I don't like.
Mm.
It's kind of insufferable with the other characters. I not the biggest fan. So Leprechaun 2 had to go
Okay.
there.
Alrighty. My number 5 is Leprechaun in the Hood. This movie I loved this movie when I was a kid. Okay. You see where I'm going with this? And I'm watching it now, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, my tastes have changed because I'm like, I don't know what I saw in this movie. Like, of course, it has its funny moments. The beginning of the movie, the opening scene, still fantastic. I still love that opening scene. And for some reason, as a stupid kid, in my mind, I must have just like took that opening scene and just like, just
Extrapolated it and
projected it onto the rest of the movie because the rest of the movie's not like that at all. Like it has some funny moments, but it's mostly serious. Not as serious as Back to the Hood,
yes.
um, but it's mostly serious. And the characters, for the most part, are likable. There's this weird thing with like making fun of men dressing up as women and like making fun of like transgender and stuff. Like, I guess that was 2000s comedy. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I was disappointed because I really like the way my rankings used to go was this was number 1 for me.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And now it's number 5. So, yeah, I don't know. I forgot that I had notes for these things.
So
Um,
what are your notes for Back to the Hood?
so this is something I mentioned to you before. I
Uh-huh.
think that they filmed like 2 separate introductions to the flute, like they did the flute blowing scene,
Yep.
and they were supposed to only use one of them in the editing, but they used both of them for some reason, and they're back-to-back scenes where the exact same thing happens where like the main character, Postmaster P, is just looking at it like, I wonder what this is, and blows into it aimlessly. And then everybody stops and turns. And then he looks and goes, "So we going?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." Like they do that 2 times back to back in 2 different locations. It's so weird. Um,
Yeah.
what's with the weird fade to blacks? Like that it accommodates commercials.
So that's the one that had all of those. I was thinking of, because
Yeah.
I asked you if they were like from direct to DVD or some of them were like direct to TV. I thought that one was direct to TV or something, possibly, but heavily maybe edited, obviously on TV, but just because of all the,
Yeah, I
I
know.
guess, the fade to black.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't, as far as I know, it was never on like TV. It was, except for maybe a year or two down the road.
Hmm.
It was straight to DVD. So that was funky to me. There's a weird shot of Leprechaun like in the shop watching like the shop owner before he kills him, and the whole time you hear like it's from his point of view, and it's like, what is he doing? I hate what I'm hearing. It's so weird.
Just trying
So
to be
that was sort
creepy.
of nonsensical to me. Um, there's a moment where Jackie, the character Jackie, dies, and it must be like it's like the leprechaun pretending to be a woman, and he like tricks him, and then all of a sudden, like you see him like him walk up to this woman, and she sort of goes at him, and then you hear him screaming, and all it does is show a shot of the leprechaun in something and going like,
Hmm.
and that's all you see, and you're like, wait a minute, shouldn't he be the woman that's murdering this guy? What's going on here, and where is he? Is he in a dumpster or something? Like, it's so weird. And then you find out later on, and I discovered this just because it looked identical when he's in the safe, in the Reverend safe, that that's where he is in that scene much earlier on in the movie. So they must have realized they didn't have like a reaction, from the leprechaun in that moment. So they just scrambled for what they could possibly get. And they used a scene from much later on in the movie. Like check it out. He is in the safe like 20
Hmm.
minutes into the movie for some reason for 5 seconds. And there's no reason for it at all. It's so funky and it completely threw me off, but it just goes along with the cheapness of the movie. Um, and I think that's really it. The Reverend's weird and possibly you know,
Well,
there's no way I can say any word to describe this on YouTube. But Chris Hansen, he'd like to have a discussion with the Reverend.
I know while he's trying to coax these three young gentlemen in the right direction while he's doing well. We saw what he was going to do to her.
It's weird.
Indeed.
It's weird.
If you know, you know.
And they're hiding in the church, right? Like they're hiding in the church
Yes. And in order to
from
hide in the church, you have to
they have to
perform.
sing in front of everybody. Yeah, I know. Oh God.
Yes.
So weird. That's it.
All right.
Number 4.
Number 4, Leprechaun into Hood.
Oh, okay.
It's similar to 2 in the way that like the things that I do enjoy about it, I kind of enjoyed, like, it is standout and very entertaining to me. Um, but everything surrounding it as like a cohesive whole is kind of fucking shitty. Um, and again, it has to do with the plot elements of Leprechaun literally being in the hood and him getting up to like shenanigans. Like the
Yeah.
whole exchange about like you just taking the joint from him and just saying, "What kind of blend is this?"
Interesting blend.
And the way he, continues to smoke, he gets a little higher. That
He's
that
like,
is obviously funny shit.
a peculiar blend.
And then I think it was in Back to the Hood where he stabs him with the bong, and then it's like gurgling with blood. Like
Yeah.
that's funny shit. And then when he is smoking with him, like the leprechaun's obviously getting like high out of his fucking mind, more so than he was in Back to the Hood. Um, but anyway, like that's
A
all good
friend
shit.
with weed is a
It is a
friend
friend
indeed.
indeed.
Yeah. But
And
a
then the
friend
one
with
part,
gold is the best, I'm told.
yeah, because he has his gold coin, and he's like, man, first I fucking smoke your little ass out, and now you're gonna take my shit. I was like, that's pretty good, you know. Anyway, but yeah, so
That was back
back,
to the
yeah, I know. It was just I forgot to say it with Back to the Hood, but with In the Hood, it's got those elements, sure. The rap at the end is like the icing on the cake, though, because I went back and I watched the rap while I was like waiting for you to come home from there, and that's all good shit. You said, we talked about it at work, the whole opening where he's pulling the baseball bat out of his afro, and there's all the funny shit. And
yeah.
I do have to say this, I'm kind of shocked at how much I kind of cared about the three main characters in that movie by the end, because like they die or whatever, and I was like kind of like, man, that kind of sucks. I wanted to see them all succeed, and I actually kind of cared about somebody in a Leprechaun movie. I guess I'll have
Sure.
to say it's not greater than the sum of its parts. That's its issue. Same thing that I didn't like about the second one. And again, it's hard to rank all these because none of these are good. You know what I mean? I guess it just
I get what you
happens.
mean.
I guess it just happens, to be whatever hits the right notes for you.
Yeah,
Anyway,
this is
so
correct. So
what
what is
is
my
your
number four?
yes, what is your number four?
Mm, what could it possibly be,
Scratch
I
them off.
wonder? Well, I'll tell you. It's the classic from 1993 starring Jennifer Aniston,
Very
aka
good.
the original, the first one. I'm not a huge fan of it. I've never been a huge fan of this movie. But ranked number four, so that's pretty good. But it's just a weird movie. I will say, on a positive note, the opening of the movie with like the thunderstorm and the fact that they don't really show the leprechaun like full on at that point.
Hmm.
He just gets illuminated by like, lightning strikes. It was very atmospheric and very scary in those moments, actually. I'm like, this is the one time in the entire series where the leprechaun is actually like scary. So that was kind of cool. So I made a note of that. Um, I liked in the beginning where he's being like a cocky bastard,
Yeah.
like riding the skateboard and stuff and whatever, and he's waiting for the drunk man to walk into the living room so he can be like, "Hey, where's my gold?" And he's like being all cocky, like sitting in the chair, all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, the guy takes out a four-leaf clover and he goes, "Whoa!"
I know it's like Dracula with the damn crucifix.
Yeah, it's just the way that Warwick Davis goes, "Whoa!"
Where did you get that? I'll fix it.
Like his entire like voice changes because he's being like
It's
such a
like
cocky bitch.
extraordinarily expressive.
Yes, and that cracked me up, and I rewound it and I watched it again. Like it was so funny. Um, I do really like the Dutch angles that they use in the movie. They do that a lot.
Interesting.
Really I think after the second movie, they don't do it anymore at all. But that first movie, they do it a lot, especially when they're going into like the hospital, or the old age home or whatever it is.
Yes.
Looks like a hospital. Um, Obviously, it was sort of like tongue in cheek, but the hand coming out of the phone was obviously like Freddy Krueger's tongue coming out of the phone.
I predicted that
So,
was gonna happen when I was watching the movie. I said, I swear to God, if they do like the leprechaun tongue coming through the phone,
yeah, well, they didn't do
like,
that.
yeah.
They just did his hand coming through the phone because that's somehow better. Now, I have obviously in the notes, he mentions he's 500 years old to the police officer when he's pulled over. And then lastly, um, this movie and this character at this time of the series, so starting off, I think that Leprechaun is most closely related to Freddy. So it's interesting that he does the phone thing, but it's just
Hmm.
he's very Freddy-esque, he's very like you know, he's like he's dark, but he also has a lot of jokey qualities to him, but he's still dangerous and you know, but he has like magical abilities that like Freddy does in the dreams. You know, it's just like I was getting Nightmare on Elm Street vibes from the first movie. I never really got it again, but from that
Hmm.
first movie
I
I
get,
did,
yeah, you
and
know what? I,
it's
I guess now that you mentioned it, aside from like the personality thing,
mm-hmm.
he might not be in the dream world, but like the Leprechaun really does use his magic to his advantage like 95% of the time. And then
Yeah,
obviously he has his personality and humor and jokes to carry him. And obviously that's not so much of the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but in this case, the first Leprechaun movie. Now that
right.
you mention it, sure, I definitely see more parallels than I would have drawn initially ever. So, huh.
He like plays with the victims, you know, like even in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's very serious, but he still plays with the victims, like, hey, watch this,
Yeah.
you know, like that kind of thing. So it's like, you know, obviously he doesn't become as jokey as he eventually does, but I don't know, it just gave me that feeling to it. There's not a lot of, you know, movie slashers that have magical abilities, you know, so yeah.
Yes.
How do you swallow
That's
a
a
gold
fact.
coin?
What?
How? They don't even show it happen. He's just like, oh, let's bite on it. That's how you know it's real. Oh my God, I swallowed it.
You know, as a kid, like I've always heard that like you bite on a coin if it bends and it's not real gold. But yes, like in the gold coins like this fucking big too. So I mean, I understand Ozzy's a big boy
Yeah.
here. I understand that he's the mentally challenged brother, but like,
He's not even a brother. He's just a friend of the child.
wait, what? That's what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, good fucking God.
Yeah. He's introduced as like, this is my friend. This is like, he's like, I'm the brother of the guy you've already met. And this is my friend Ozzy. Like, and later on in the movie, when they're waiting for their like Tori's dad in
Yeah.
the hospital, who you never see again. Literally, he falls out of the movie after 10 minutes. It's ludicrous, but like they didn't even feel the need to like go back to him at the end of the movie or anything. But they're sitting in that like cafe and she's just like, where is I can't think of the kid's name, but where is him and Ozzy? And he's like, they're kids, you know. They're
Yeah.
they're getting into trouble probably. They'll be here eventually. And I'm like, they're kids. One of them is like
It's like
45 years old.
yes.
So I don't know, that's weird. And then the way the movie ends too, like it just ends. You know, like it just bam goes into credits and it's like, what?
Yeah, these
So
movies are
it
like when
yeah.
they're over, basically. It's like enjoy
Hmm.
the fucking ride. Um,
Yeah. It
yeah,
felt very
good
cheap.
and good job, Jennifer Aniston, for your first feature length movies. We had Johnny Depp and Nightmare. And hey, there we go. There's the next parallel. We got Jennifer Aniston in this one, and
Yeah.
sure, she did good with the material she was given. Fine. Holy fucking annoying ass character. And it's funny you mentioned the diner scene because it was right at that particular scene where I'm like, will you just eat the goddamn fucking meatloaf and stop comparing it to whatever she compared it to? I'm like, just shut the fuck up. Like, your dad's in the hospital. You don't care. There's a killer
Yeah.
leprechaun on the loose.
She
Like,
wanted like a
you,
watercress salad and an avian water or an avian or
yeah.
whatever.
And you're going through all of this hell and high water because you wanted to fuck the painter boy's brother or whatever, not even brother, friend. Like, what?
Yeah.
I'm not staying at this, and that house is disgusting. You were gonna fix that fucking house up and stay there for a goddamn
Just burn it
summer.
to the ground. Yeah, she makes this
Exactly.
whole big deal how she's leaving. That's it. She's done. And then it's like the way that she does a 180 after just meeting the guy is so weird. She's
It's
like, bring
like,
my bag back inside. I'm staying. And the dad's just like, okay.
Come on, just put the bags back, okay? I'm gonna stay.
Because he's about to leave.
I
He's
know,
like,
and
you know
there's
what?
like,
You're right. This house is a fucking
and she's
shithole.
in
Let's
the
go.
goddamn basement with him, and there's like literally like full-size tarantulas crawling around and everything.
I know. Yeah, it was weird.
Absolutely, absolutely strange. Yeah, so Jennifer Aniston, good job. We'll have to point that out. Everybody knows. It's like she's all over every first movie poster.
You know what's funny about that too is the photo of her on like the cover is
Uh-huh.
so obviously a friend's photo. And it's just like, come on. And you can notice it by her hairstyle. And it's just one of those things that they do, where they, hold on to movie. They didn't do that in this case, but they do it a lot where like Texas Chainsaw 4, like that movie was not released and they waited until as if they knew where Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger became big names and then they released that movie. You know what I mean? It's almost like, hey,
Sure.
check out our movie. Look who stars in it. And they like Jim Carrey was in a movie called Rubber Face when he was younger. He's barely in it. And it's like, hey, check out this Jim Carrey movie. Like they'll
Rubber
market
Phase. Huh,
movies.
never heard of Rubber Phase.
Yeah, it's weird, but I've never seen it, but I've just heard he's not in it a lot. But they do that kind of thing. They'll like market older movies and market them in a different way. Well, they'll
Whichever
take
actor
the
is
big actor and put
prominent.
them,
Yeah, yeah.
give them top billing and, have their face on the cover and stuff. And that's not really the case with this because Jennifer Aniston is in this a lot, but she doesn't look like that photo that they show. That's for sure. So I thought that was funny.
Exactly.
But yeah, people go, oh, what is this Jennifer Aniston movie? I mean, it looks older. I mean, she was on Friends at the time. It must be good. And then they see it and they're like, oh my God, what is this? No, she got Friends right after this, and she was lucky for that.
Exactly. She never looked back after that. Has she ever done a convention
Hell no. Oh my
related to
God.
horror? She's
Hell no. She wouldn't do a
she,
convention, period, related to anything, period. She's
is
too
Jennifer
big.
Aniston a bitch?
I honestly, I don't know, but she's an A-list actress. She's always been the biggest star from Friends, hands down. And they all have like so much money they don't even know what to do with it. That's why most of them don't even work anymore. And just they got so much money from that show. They became such big names, but she continued to act like she did movies and and you name it. And so she's
Bruce
still
Almighty.
huge. Yeah, Bruce Almighty is one of them. There's a movie she's in called The Good Girl, which is fantastic. John C. Riley, Jake Gyllenhaal. It's a really good movie. It was like 2003-ish that she was in that, but
Never heard of
yeah.
this one.
But she's like, she's huge. Like you don't see A-list celebrities show up at conventions usually, because they
Yeah, I
don't
didn't know
need
if
the
there were
money.
any like I don't know if there were oh, fantastic point. I just didn't know if there were any like Leprechaun fans that just want to meet Jennifer Aniston solely based on her affiliation with Leprechaun.
I'll tell you this, if they could ever somehow get Jennifer Aniston to go to a convention, it would be like Comic-Con, like San Diego Comic-Con, the biggest convention in the world. And there would not be a single Leprechaun photo on that damn table. She probably would have it in her contract that you could not have a Leprechaun photo on the table.
Mm-mm-mm.
It's funny too because they're like rebooting the series now. Lionsgate, who still has ownership of it, are rebooting it, right? And they're like,
Well,
now,
Leprechaun are friends.
anyway, Leprechaun, obviously. And so they're like rebooting it supposedly. You think that Lionsgate owns Friends?
You didn't find that funny?
Anyway, so this is what keeps me up at night.
Fuller House?
Pulling out my hair at Lucas's jokes. Um but so they're gonna reboot the series supposedly, and I read this article where they're like, oh, it's probably gonna be a requel It's going to be a direct sequel to the original, which they've already done, but whatever.
I was
So
gonna
they're like,
say
this
that
opens the
exists.
door. This article was dead serious too. This opens the door for the return of Warwick Davis and Jennifer Aniston. And I was like, no fucking way would Jennifer
There's no
Aniston
way.
ever come back to this series.
Would it even, I don't care if it's Lionsgate or not. Would it really get a theatrical fucking release?
It probably would because, they'll pay the money for it,
If they could
but
even get Warwick Davis to be in it.
they might be able to, but they're not Jennifer Aniston. There's no way an ass. There's no way an ass.
Unless she shot everything remotely on a green screen and sent it over. I mean,
They still wouldn't do that because there was like a joke with the movie that we're getting to later on, Leprechaun Returns, and people were like, "Oh, the voice double you hear in it, like the person does an impression of Jennifer
yes.
Aniston. It's so good
that if you let him go, you could wish me back.
that some people are like, was that Jennifer Aniston? I mean, I guess they could have just got like cornered her on the street and got her to record it really quickly, like into a phone. And they're like, well, I guess that's not how movies really work, right? Like she would not want her name to be attached to anything like this. So there's no way. And it's not like the actor, the character of Tori Redding doesn't have like the same cachet that like Laurie Strode does,
Yeah, I would say it has maybe 2% of
Yeah.
if,
Yeah.
and that's very
That's being
generous.
generous, yeah.
Because you know
So.
damn right and well that there are some strange fans of some strange things out there. People like some of the weirdest shit. Look at us.
True. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's other characters they could bring back. I mean, Ozzy aside, I mean, they could
I was
bring him
gonna
back too if
say
they want again, since I guess
Ghost
returns
Ozzy.
won't matter anymore.
Oh yeah,
Um,
you're right.
so bring back Ozzy and then you could bring
He's
back
probably
like
strapped for work.
the brothers, the two brothers. Like I'm sure that they're out there somewhere.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Was there anything else you wanted to say?
I don't think so. I don't even know what number we're on anymore.
Yeah, what the hell are we
3?
on? Yeah, I think we're on 3. Yep. All right. So Leprechaun 1, as we just ended up talking about it. Although it can be pretty boring at times, I would say it definitely is pretty charming. Like you said, it's one of, if not the only ones that ever has moments of being scary. I mean, these are labeled
Sure.
as horror comedies, but I mean, are any of these ever scary at any point, really? I mean, really, to me, they're just comedies that happen to have a very nasty looking main character, truly. But like you said, it does have its elements of horror in there, and it's cheesy. It's also kind of fun too. Super fucking campy, obviously, but yeah, it's it's not a bad time whatsoever. Not at all.
Yeah, it's not a bad time. It's not a particularly good time either.
Yeah. But
So
then again, comparing it to some of the others, again, like I said, this is just was a hard list because none of them, again, are particularly that great.
yeah, I know. I know. Anything else to say about that movie?
No, we already covered the infamous "fuck you, Lucky Charms."
Fuck you, Lucky Charms.
The fact that how
Yeah.
the hell do you swallow that? Why is there just like randomly this gold coin dealer that can tell that it's fake? He's flipping the sign the second they get there. Like, I don't know, man. And he was the one that got pogoed to death, correct? And then he stole the little cart
Uh-huh.
from him. Yeah. Um, like again, it has like it's not the same thing as saying like, oh, it's the first, Halloween movie. It's the first Nightmare on Elm Street. It's the first Chucky where it has charm and it sets up this great thing. It again, it has its elements that are not greater than the sum of its parts for the first
Yeah.
movie.
You
And
know what
again,
it
this
is
was
like saying?
theatrical. What?
It's like saying the first Friday the 13th.
But yeah, I guess in sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't gonna say that for good exposition of first movies, because
Both are
obviously it's not.
useless.
But and the fact that this did get that full theatrical release, and they even gave the second one a theatrical release, like that was just, you know, that was whatever. Anyway, but yeah, it is charming though in its own right. As much as I can't stand Jennifer Aniston's like Valley Girl shit in that movie, but again, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, the opening, I again to go with the taunting thing. When I watched the movie the first time recently, like what, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting there like, this is fucking ridiculous. When he goes to light the match, you know, after he has them all in there, he goes to light the match and he goes, "Oh,
God.
you're a little old. Are you going to have a stroke?" And then he just immediately keels over and the thing goes out. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it
Like,
was
this is
weird.
what you're setting me up for? And again, like,
Yeah.
it wasn't until like halfway through, like not until Space. So I guess by the third movie, I was like, you know what? I'm getting the angle, but I have questions. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what am I really watching? There's eight, you know what I mean? It was whatever. But anyway, so yeah, the third one is the first one for me.
Very nice.
When I got to the second one, I was like, I don't know if I have hope for this series whatsoever. And I'm
Mm.
like, and then we'll get to it. We'll talk about this other movie. We'll get to it. So anyway, yeah, number three, number one, first movie.
Very good. My number three is Leprechaun Returns. It
Okay.
was a 2018 film. It was heavily inspired by Halloween 2018. It was just, with much less of a budget than that movie had. And it was a sci-fi original, which is hilarious. Like Lionsgate partnered with sci-fi. The most hilarious part of all of this, though, is the fact is that it's a straight to cable movie, and it's better than so many of these movies.
Yes.
Like crazy how that works. And it doesn't have Warwick Davis. That is like one of the negatives about it. But the guy Lyndon Porco, he did a serviceable job. And he was held back a little bit by the teeth prosthetics, dental prosthetics, whatever you want to call them, as well as probably some of the actual face prosthetics as well, because they did kind of go overboard on it. But that aside, though, the story's really good, and it has its funny moments, but it also is serious, but in a way that makes sense. It's not like Back to the Hood, where it's just weird, like melodrama. Like it has some serious moments and it makes sense and it actually feels connected. It's the only two movies that connect in the entire series, is the first one and
Yep.
Returns, right? And the main girl that plays Tori's daughter is very good. Um, she was on the show, I think, was it Last Man Standing? Yeah, something like that. Or she was the daughter on Kevin Can Wait, I think. Whatever. It was a Kevin James show. But she's good. She looks enough like Jennifer Aniston that it makes sense and her acting's good. And I mean, here's the deal though. All the characters in this movie have like a thing. And even if they might be a little bit annoying, you still kind of care about all of them because you get the time,
Hmm.
it's explored who
You
these
know what,
characters
Brandon?
are. They're
It's
not just one
almost like this one
dimensional.
felt like, I don't know, a movie.
Yeah, like a real movie. Yeah, you are correct. It's like they cared, they tried, they went for it, and I think for the most part it was a success. And I think that that's
I
super cool.
wholeheartedly agree.
And it's like for the most part too, when they go funny with it, it works. And it just, it makes sense. Does it make sense necessarily that the sorority house is like 20 miles away from the university? No, no, it doesn't. Does it make sense that it's inside of the house from the original movie? No, no, it doesn't. But I don't really care because everything else is really good. And they, just the fact that they're trying to like, make everything like green and energy efficient, and that
The
leads to one
solar
of the best
panel
deaths of the
is
movie.
that was my
Yeah,
moment where I was like, you know what? This is fucking schlock ass, and I love it. Like I'm almost like
yeah,
I'm almost on love territory with that movie.
yeah.
It's
It's good.
it's good, and it's surprising. Like you wouldn't think that
Yeah,
somebody had made a passion project sequel to Leprechaun. It's
I know. It
ridiculous.
is surprising. And it's like
It's
if
like
they
the
just
Godzilla minus one of directed dumpster horror movies.
yeah. And it's funny too, because if you think like, well, imagine if the movie had a higher budget and it went to theaters and that Warwick Davis was in it with this script,
Would have been the
it would have
best.
been like flawless. So it would
100% agree
be
with you.
definitely head and head with one other movie for me in the series. And it might have taken the top spot. I don't know. But yeah, I enjoyed it very much. And it's one of the two movies that I would go back to. Ironically, we'll talk about it. My number two, I don't know if I'd go back to that so much, but there's a reason
Okay.
that it is ahead of this one. So yes,
Very good.
indeed.
All right,
So
we're
number two.
getting down to the wire here.
Yeah.
So I was kind of shocked that this one ended up making it so high. By the end of watching it, I was like, dude, I don't know where this is gonna go. I'm super conflicted because Warwick Davis isn't in it, and Leprechaun Returns is actually my second favorite.
Okay. Yeah.
It made me feel kind of like kind of icky to say that I like this so much without without Warwick Davis. David Warwick. So without his performance, because that's what really strung along every other movie, right? Just watching him have fun, and then you end up having fun with certain elements from it, never like the whole thing as it is, but almost the whole thing as it is, other than the prosthetics and some of that, and the fact that it really isn't. I just had an insane amount of fun with this movie. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
the other I don't know. It was kind of creepy at parts, I have to say. Like the nighttime scene where the girl's like drunk stumbling through the kitchen and he's just kind of sitting up there and the way the light shines in. Really good. Like that's the only time I've ever said there was some good cinematography in a Leprechaun movie. I really also loved how they continued the eye gag of him losing his eye, but this time he puts, the other eye in there. He has two different
Mm-hmm.
colored eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of really good things working with it. And when anytime he talked and had an interaction, it was pretty clever. It was
Yeah.
really entertaining, and it was pretty fucking dark too. Like he got kind of nasty with the way he was talking to those girls, in particular. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I actually kind of really like this. Like that is kind of fucking scary. Like if I were to walk in on a small leprechaun with two different eyes staring me down, like breaking down my inner character with riddles, I would. That's good shit. And when has a leprechaun ever been scary other than a little bit briefly in the first movie?
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, it's just wow. It's almost like you one up the concept. Just like you said, if it had the budget and Warwick Davis, fucking great. Would have been the best leprechaun movie. And
Mm-hmm.
it's surprising, even with some of the CG that's mixing with the practical effects. I didn't mind it too much because you got split in fucking clean half by a solar panel. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then again, like I said at work today, the whole thing about bringing back the shoe shining but throwing away the Crocs, fantastic. Because I hate Crocs. I really do.
I think everybody does for the most part.
Yeah, he said he's like doing the world a
Should
favor by
be.
throwing them away.
Yeah.
It's good shit.
They should be
And then
outlawed.
yes. And even
Crocs.
even Ozzy, who I thought was an annoying fuck in the first movie, is
Yeah, he was
more than
good.
tolerable. In fact,
Yeah.
yes, he's good in this movie. Even the whole part about Ghost Ozzy, trying to get his insides back together to continue the conversation in the basement. Like it was actually like I kind of cared about the guy. I never thought I was gonna care about Ozzy from
Yeah.
Leprechaun 1. So this movie managed to do so many things that I would have never thought. So it
Mm-hmm.
was again, watching these all in rapid succession, it was like one every other day. This was a really good breath of fresh air, especially toward the end. And coming off the heels of Origins, I mean, what of course
Oh
it's gonna be
God,
fucking
tell me
amazing.
about it.
So
It
yes,
was definitely a course correction for
for
sure for
sure.
the
So I
series.
really, really enjoy Leprechaun Returns.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, it's really quite a charming movie. It is clever. Like his rhymes for like one of the first times ever are clever
Yep.
and, funny when, at times where they should be funny. And yeah, it's very interesting and, pretty much all the characters are likable, like I said too.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a standout for the series. And that woman that does the Jennifer Aniston impression, good job.
Good shit.
Because that's not like a normal impression that people can do, you know. So my number two, and I'll explain myself, is Leprechaun 2. And, you know, is it technically a better movie than Returns? Probably not. But also there's a lot of moments that I enjoy, and the whole like leprechaun concept was still very like new at that time for the second movie. And again, it was theatrical, so it had a budget to it.
Hmm.
Ironically though, I saw an interview with Warwick Davis where he said working on the second movie was like absolutely miserable because it felt
Mm.
like the movie had less of a budget than the first movie did even. So they were like constantly cutting corners and removing entire set pieces and scenes and
Wow.
whatnot from the movie. Um, but I don't know. I think it just the reason I give it the edge over Returns is Warwick Davis, and that's really it. And of course, I like the character of Morty, and basically the movie is Leprechaun in Los Angeles, which you also get in Back to the Hood too, I guess. You
Sure.
know, because in the hood it's Compton, right?
Hmm.
Still California, but it's Compton. And then back to the hood is Los Angeles. So it's like, I don't know, whatever. But they focus more on like the celebrity side of Los Angeles and that kind of thing. And I personally thought that the main character was good. Like I thought he was likable personally.
I
Um
thought he was a stupid cook. But that's what makes these good so bad they're good movies pretty interesting to rank because generally Brandon and I are pretty spot on. I knew there were going to be some that were opposites for this of course. I mean, how could there not be?
Our lists are strangely closer than I could have ever imagined, though. But yeah, there's like a scene in the bar that I think is super cool where like Morty is just staring and his what is the Cody?
Cody, yeah.
That's is just like Uncle Morty. Uncle Morty, are you okay? Hey, what are you doing? Look at me. And he's like,
Here.
he's here. And he turns and he looks and then everybody clears out and then you see at the very end of the bar the leprechaun like
Hmm.
something like that, or he's like tapping on the bar itself and he just the way he looks and he's like the way that the shadows are cast on his face and stuff, I'm like, that's good shit. Like that, I really like that. um I think that the acting and the story is better than the original personally. The go-kart scene is funky and weird. Um, Leprechaun's lair is fascinating to
To
me.
say the least. It's a fucking fun house. I mean, he's a leprechaun, of course, but
Yeah,
Oh, didn't I mention you'll be bearing me wee one soon?
it's so weird.
that
So weird.
whole
I find
end
it
chase scene, go this way,
fascinating.
but comes out the other. It's like if you put yakety sax, like I was at the time watching, like put the yakety sax, do 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 do
Oh
do
yeah.
as they're going through the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Not to diminish any love you have for
They
this
keep
movie, because I
on
know how much you love Leprechaun.
keep on going different ways and keep on coming back to
Yeah.
the same area. Um, there's a really weird moment in it where he ends up kissing the leprechaun because he disguises himself as the girl. Can't think of her name. And then she goes, "Well,
Is it
who
Bridget?
kisses better?"
Bridget.
Sure, Bridget.
Sure.
And she goes, "Well, who kisses better?" And he goes, "I don't know. He just kisses differently than you." It's like, what? That is what? It's so strange. Oh, no, wait, I got that. I got that scene wrong. She goes, "Well, how did you know it wasn't me?" And he goes, "He kisses differently than you."
How did you know it wasn't me you gave the coin to before?
He kisses differently than you.
And that's the end of the movie. It literally cuts the credits after
Yes.
that. And I'm like, that's what you end on? Like, what is wrong with this series? Like, they don't know how to end these movies properly.
That's a fact.
And that was my note. I obviously outlined that his age is 2,000 years old, but the very last note is these movies end on the worst notes. That's what my note
And
says.
note
So,
is.
yes. So now we're down to number 1, right?
Yeah, here we are.
What could it be? I don't
What
know.
What could it possibly
Sounds
be?
like we have the exact same number 1.
Leprechaun 3, baby. I fucking like I actually love this movie.
It's fantastic.
It is I think what I like about this one, God, I'm like gonna fangirl because this is the one thing I'm gonna rewatch this motherfucker because
I am too.
what I like about this movie is that it's the first one that is direct to DVDs or direct to video at the
But
time.
it has like a budget. Like you can tell they actually shot in Vegas, which is insane to me.
There's a shot. I don't know if you noticed it. I feel like if you did, you would have said it to me. But there's a hotel
Frankie
or
Valley?
some. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Frankie Valley shot.
Yeah, I
that's at
thought
the
you were going to say
beginning.
that to me. I was waiting for it.
Yeah. So here you go. I was gonna say it. I did. But no, that movie, fuck, I just had so much fun with it.
It's so
That is the
fucking
reason.
funny.
Like,
The two
what
guys.
what got me it was the second that I noticed that this one gold coin is gonna get passed around everybody so that way they can each have their wish and it's all gonna fuck them up as they get their wish. And
Yeah.
it's so fucking funny. Like he even turns into like a pseudo troll. What's his name in that movie? I can't even
He
remember.
turns into a leprechaun.
A pseudo troll. He looks like a troll because he's still tall, but it's I don't know. Where do I
does
begin
a
with this
better
movie?
Irish accent than Warwick Davis does.
Fazio's the one with your shilling. It's him you should be killing.
Warwick Davis just talks, as his own voice.
He does like
as
a
leprechaun.
raspy British voice. Yeah.
I thought I wasn't gonna like the movie. I thought as I started watching it, I'm like, this is a ridiculous concept. A wannabe magician and this guy going to school, traveling throughout the world. So he's gonna go to the casino, blow all his fucking money, and then you have the casino owner, that fucking crazy lucrative piece of shit with his like side piece, and then the oh my god, holy shit! So I really should have
Literally,
had notes because this
the
is just
magician
incohesive, but
Fazio is my favorite character. Like,
and
he could have
such an amazing death.
Yes, he could have so easily though been annoying, and had he been in any other movie in this series, he would have been annoying. But it's just something about it. He's so funny. Like
Yes.
everybody is funny that's supposed to be funny. There's nobody that's annoying in this movie. And like those two guys that are like they want their money from the owner of the casino, hotel too, I guess, but they're hilarious. Like
It's your
I
Abbott and
just
Costello
love
and
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I found this on the web for it's your Aberdeen Costello and check it out.
I said nothing even remotely close to her name.
Terrible.
Anyway, so I said it's the Abbott and Costello of the Leprechaun series. It's coming up again.
Okay. I found this on the web for S is coming up again. Check it out.
The only time I don't want to hear the Australian accent. Now shut the fuck up, bitch.
Yeah, if that's what you can call that Australian accent. It's like, this is what comes up when you say Abby and Costello.
That is such a Cockney voice there,
I don't
Brandon.
even know what it is. I was purposely trying to make it sound just stupid.
Anyway,
Like,
so
Abby and Costello. So
anyway,
confusing.
yes. So Leprechaun 3, holy fuck, what a surprise. I also love the one kill of the lady who wanted to be pretty, and then
Yep.
her ass implants, the boob implants, and like her duck lip like implants are all getting big. I'm laughing my ass off. I love the what I would call the fembot kill where there's all the leprechaun like he's flashing through all the different commercials on the
I love
TV,
it.
and then
Yeah.
he's like, did I just hear my name? She's like, no, you didn't hear anything. And he goes back, and then at the final one when he's like, greedy casino owner, and he goes, okay, I definitely heard my name that time. And
She
she goes,
goes,
no, you
yep.
didn't hear shit. Or he says, yep, sure. And then it's
She
like
says
the
yes and then
fembot
goes and kills him. Tries to
with
at
the
least.
with the tit, like it immediately turns to like the robot with the tits right on it. And it, I don't know, man, it's the best camp I've seen in a long time. And
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure on like your list, the preemptive list that you sent me, you said 3 was the worst piece of trash ever.
No.
It wasn't
I
3.
said it was. I put first one's trash, second one trashier, third one even trashier
Okay.
is what I put, and then fourth one the worst movie ever. Leprechaun Origins somehow worse than the worst movie ever. That's what I put down.
Okay.
And then I put okay question mark for Leprechaun in the Hood. And then for Leprechaun Back to the Hood, it was just eh.
Okay.
And then Leprechaun Origin surprisingly good is what I put for that.
So I didn't anticipate. Well, by the time I got to the third one, I still thought they were like a little junky. Like that definitely had my laughs, but I'm like, what the fuck? So the fourth one obviously cemented. That's a piece of shit. Um,
Yeah.
but sure, I did not expect the third one to be my favorite because there's nothing scary about it. Like there's no horror elements at all. It's like it's a straight up comedy, and
It is pretty much a straight up comedy, but
maybe
like
it just does fare better for it.
it definitely helps for sure. And I mean, I remember being a kid hating this movie. So this was like a really fun surprise for me that I liked it as much as I did. Because I really don't have any negatives for it, like at all. I
Yeah,
think it's fantastic. Every
it's
character in
just a
it,
lot of
I
fun.
think, is great. Scott and Tammy are great characters. I actually cared about them, and I cared about them getting together
Yeah,
and like staying together.
Tammy wasn't a bitch who was just flirting with everybody right in front of him and just grabbing on the others and
Right.
he's still trying to get with her by the end of the movie. The whole thing is about him trying to save her. It's trash. She's trash,
Yeah.
rather. Hashtag Tammy the damn magician. I want to be a magician. Okay. Is that a left field?
Yeah. So
But I guess
she's
it
the
goes along with the
magician
casino thing. I'm sure
assistant.
maybe magician shows were more prevalent back in the day.
Oh,
But that
they're
was
still super
oh
prevalent.
really?
Oh my God. That's what most of the shows are in Vegas.
Huh, didn't know that.
Yeah, Chris Angel, David Copperfield, the Siegfried and Roy when they were doing their thing.
Hmm.
It was
Well, that one I know is
ton.
huge, but
Yeah, all of that's huge. I mean, just tons. Chris Angel still has a show in Vegas, a
my is it
residency.
called Mind Freak, like the TV show?
It was never called Mind Free. I mean, the show was, but no, his residency was different. It just called, I don't know what it was called, but yeah, yeah, Magic is huge. It probably was a little bit more back in the day, but it's still pretty huge. Yes. So, Let's see here. My notes consist of why is there no background info on the guy coming into the pawn shop with the leprechaun with the necklace on him? I demand background
Oh, and then I
information on
forgot to
this.
mention, yeah, so the leprechaun statue that they brought back in the fifth movie, and
Mm-hmm.
then he's back, and then he still has a medallion. That's like a plot point, and then it never gets
Yeah.
brought up again. So is it
Yeah,
is
I
is this
know.
the same leprechaun then?
No, so I was thinking that possibly when I was rewatching it because I remembered that he was that statue again in Back to the or I
Yeah.
keep saying that in the Hood, the fifth one. But it doesn't work out correctly because he's in a statue in the mid 90s and he gets freed from that and then he explodes by the end of the movie, completely dead. Which is funny too, because when he has caught on fire, because they simply take like the flamethrower and they start burning his golds,
Hmm.
and then he catches on fire and starts flailing around and stuff. When his skeleton falls down to the ground, you see his this the hand come up and do this to the camera. I thought that was super funny. Um, which it's like a recurring joke kind of,
Yeah.
when he's
That was like
like,
the only fucking laugh I got out of the fourth movie was at the end when the giant
yeah,
pixelated middle finger was just floating
right,
by.
yeah, it looks like I don't know, clip art that they put on
Yeah,
there,
it's like you upload an image into like Microsoft Word in 2003 for your
and it
like
was a really
word
tiny
processing.
image.
Yep, and you go to blow it up and it's like, whoop.
Yeah, and they're like, whatever. Um, yeah, yeah, crazy. But I thought that was funny because they don't focus in on it. Like it's blink it and you miss it,
Uh-huh.
blink and you miss it, and yeah, the skeleton flipping off. But he does that like earlier in the movie too, when he's like moving away, like on the cart in the hospital. He's like, that was funny. And speaking of the hospital, him wearing the whole nurse's get up with a beeper. He has a fucking beeper
Yeah.
and a clipboard and his hat's still on, but he has it wrapped up. Like that was so funny. I can see 100% why this would be Warwick Davis's favorite movie.
Oh my God, it's just like from
100%.
start to finish, it's just nonstop
Yeah.
entertainment.
Absolutely. And he got to play all the different characters basically on TV. Like, like
Like there's the priest and whatever all else it
yeah,
was. Yeah.
priest, and there was a psychic that was like Miss Cleo. And yeah, it was like all these infomercials. That was so funny. You could tell that he was loving it. Um, so I put that on there, and that was it. Those were my notes. I mean, it brings us to the end, I'm fairly certain, right?
Yeah. I don't think I
Um,
have anything else to
So
say.
basically, the moral of the story is the third one's really good. If you've never watched the series, check that one out. And then go from there. If you like that, then maybe check out a couple of the others, like the first one by necessity, and then see Returns. And I would say watch two, and then maybe that's it. It's up
I
to
could
you.
only I could only recommend all eight of these movies if watching all eight of them if you like scary movies like we do. If you're just a casual, if you're the
Watch the
type of
third one, I would say.
yeah,
I think it's
sure.
for everybody. Let's
Yeah,
take a
so like
look
if
at Leprechaun on the cover there. I think it's from, like, obviously I'm not stupid. That is like a painting, but I think that
yeah.
with the lightning, that's from space.
So
Leprechaun in
which one would
space.
you say this one was from?
Oh, I can tell you exactly. It's from Back to the Hood. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. It's gone off the rails, so we're gonna have to end this before it goes really off the rails, and nobody wants to see that. But that's what happens when we have late night
They're
recordings,
fucking
and
terrible.
unfortunately, sometimes there's just no avoiding it. You know, you just have to have the late night recording sometimes, and then the bottom falls out and all hope is gone, and you get slap happy and weird and start talking about writing things with your penis. I mean, it gets real weird, I'm telling you.
Indeed.
But yeah. Anyway, and we both worked today. Lucas worked more than me, but
Yes.
whatever.
I would love to say that I'm gonna go to bed after this, but I know damn right and well I don't have a pizza today, everybody. Although I
I
told
find that
Brandon
highly unacceptable.
that pizza is just synonymous for all food for me now. So you know what? Screw it. I have a pizza to eat, and
It's been cooking this whole time. It's probably burnt.
yes,
Comment below. Let us know what you think of the series. How does it rank for you? Let us know. Let us know. Maybe Back to the Hood's your favorite one.
and
If
if it
that's the
is,
case,
they're all
that's
bad.
cool. That's fine.
You have every
Just
right to think so.
tell us what you like about that movie. Okay?
It was the
Or if
bomb
you've
kill.
never Yes. Yes. Anyway, maybe you've never seen the series. I would implore you to check it out because like Lucas said, it's there is a fun quality to it and it's very doable. Every movie's like an hour and 20 minutes
They're
long.
literally
So,
between an hour 25 to an hour 31 on the nose every single movie.
yeah. The only one that I will attest to that feels long is Back to the Hood.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Origins too, but Back to
For
the
different
Hood,
reasons.
that's a slog. But yeah, so happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Oh,
Be
wait, that's
safe
why we were
out
doing
there.
this?
Get out of here. Be safe out there. And we'll see you in the next video, okay?
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I'm trying not to read around your head. I'm gonna wait until you do the big reveal.
Just feels
You're
off
making this
for some
you're making this
reason.
extremely difficult.
That's what she said.
Well, you have both the boo and the pumpkin in frame. You have the bottom and the top. I don't know. It looks fine to me.
No, the frame's fine. It's just me.
Oh,
That feels off.
well, I mean,
Yeah,
well,
go f
you.
yourself.